The skull bones form a rigid structure that protects the brain and supports sensory organs like the eyes, ears, and nose, comprising 22 bones, 8 cranial and 14 facial. They provide shape to the head, facilitate chewing and speech, and allow facial expression, playing essential roles in protection and movement. Cranial bones. Cranial bones consist of 8 bones. Frontal bone forms the forehead, part of the eye orbits, and the upper nasal cavity. It protects the frontal lobe of the brain and provides attachment for facial muscles. Parietal bones, paired bones forming the top and sides of the skull. It protects the parietal lobes of the brain and contributes to skull shape and strength. Temporal bones, located on the sides of the skull near the ears, housing structures for hearing and balance. It protects the temporal lobes and provides attachment points for muscles involved in jaw movement. Occipital bone forms the back and base of the skull and contains the foramen magnum, opening for the spinal cord. It protects the occipital lobe and enables the brainstem and spinal cord to connect. Sphenoid bone, located at the base of the skull, connecting with several other bones, resembles a butterfly shape. This bone supports the skull's base. It protects the occipital lobe and enables the brainstem and spinal cord to connect. Ethmoid bone forms part of the nasal cavity, eye orbits, and nasal septum. This bone supports the nasal structure and houses olfactory, smell, nerve receptor. Facial bones. Facial bones consists of 14 bones. Nasal bones, small, paired bones forming the bridge of the nose. This bone supports the nasal structure and provides a framework for the nose. Maxillae, upper jaw bones that form the roof of the mouth, part of the eye sockets, and the sides of the nasal cavity. This bone supports the upper teeth, forms part of the oral cavity, and allows for chewing and speaking. Zygomatic bones, known as cheekbones, they connect with the maxilla. Temporal, sphenoid, and frontal bones. This bone form the prominence of the cheeks and contribute to eye socket structure. Palatine bones, located at the back of the nasal cavity, forming part of the hard palate and nasal floor. This bone supports the structure of the oral and nasal cavities, aiding in swallowing and speech. Lacrimal bones, small bones in the eye socket, near the tear ducts. This bone supports the structure of the eye socket and contains the lacrimal sac, assisting with tear drainage. Inferior nasal conchae, thin, scroll-like bones inside the nasal cavity. Increase the surface area of the nasal cavity to warm, humidify, and filter inhaled air. Vomer forms the lower portion of the nasal septum. Divides the nasal cavity into left and right sides, aiding in airflow and support. Mandible, the lower jawbone, the only movable skull bone, holds the lower teeth, facilitates chewing, and plays a key role in speech. Overall physiology of skull bones, protection. Cranial bones shield the brain, and facial bones protect sensory organs like the eyes and nasal passages. Support, provides structural support for facial muscles, aiding in expressions, eating, and speaking. Movement, while mostly immovable, the mandible allows for jaw movement, essential for chewing and communication. Sensory function, certain bones, such as the temporal and ethmoid bones, house important sensory organs for hearing and smell. The unique anatomy and physiology of each skull bone contribute to essential functions related to protection, movement, and sensation.